Now it is necessary to inquire whether this very knowledge by which separated substances and souls after death know God through their essences is sufficient for their ultimate happiness. In order to discover the truth of this, it must first be shown that the divine essence is not known by such a method of knowledge. For it is necessary to know the cause from the effect in many ways. In the first way, according to the fact that the effect is taken as a means of knowing from the cause what it is, and that it is such, as happens in the sciences, which demonstrate the cause by the effect. In another way, so that the cause is seen in the effect itself, inasmuch as the likeness of the cause appears in the effect, as a man is seen in a mirror because of his likeness. And this method differs from the first. For in the first there are two cognitions, effects and causes, one of which is the cause of the other. For the cognition of an effect is the cause of its cause being known. But in the second way there is one vision of both. For at the same time as the effect is seen, the cause is also seen in it. In the third way, so that the similitude of the cause in the effect is the form by which the effect knows the cause, as if the ark had understanding, and by its form he should know the art from which such a form, as its similitude, proceeded. But in none of these ways can the cause be known through the effect, unless the effect is adequate to the cause, in which the whole power of the cause is expressed. Separate substances, however, know God through their substances, just as a cause is known through an effect, but not in the first way, because in this way their knowledge would be discursive, but in the second way, inasmuch as one sees God in another, and in the third way, inasmuch as each of them sees God in himself, but none of them has an effect equal to the power of God, as was shown in the second book. It is therefore not possible for them to see the divine essence itself through this mode of knowledge, in which the whole virtue of the cause is expressed. Separate substances, however, know God through their substances, just as a cause is known through an effect, but not in the first way, because in this way their knowledge would be discursive, but in the second way, inasmuch as one sees God in another, and in the third way, inasmuch as each of them sees God in himself. But none of them has an effect equal to the power of God, as was shown in the second book. It is therefore not possible for them to see the divine essence itself through this mode of knowledge, in which the whole virtue of the cause is expressed. Separate substances, however, know God through their substances, just as a cause is known through an effect, but not in the first way, because in this way their knowledge would be discursive, but in the second way, inasmuch as one sees God in another, and in the third way, inasmuch as each of them sees God in himself. But none of them has an effect equal to the power of God, as was shown in the second book. It is therefore not possible for them to see the divine essence itself through this mode of knowledge. But none of them has an effect equal to the power of God, as was shown in the second book. It is therefore not possible for them to see the divine essence itself through this mode of knowledge. But none of them has an effect equal to the power of God, as was shown in the second book. It is therefore not possible for them to see the divine essence itself through this mode of knowledge. Further, an intelligible likeness, by which something is understood according to its substance, must be of the same species, or rather its species, just as the form of the house which is in the mind of the artist is of the same species as the form of the house which is in matter, or rather its species. For by the species of man is not meant what is of an ass or a horse, but the very nature of the separated substance is not the same in species with the divine nature, by any means or by kind, as was shown in the first book. It is therefore not possible for a separate substance to understand the divine substance by its proper nature. Again, everything created is limited to some kind or species, but the divine essence is infinite, comprehending in itself all the perfection of the whole being, as was shown in the first book. It is therefore impossible for the divine substance to be seen through something created. In addition, every intelligible species by which the quiddity or essence of a thing is understood includes in representing that thing, whence we call the sentences signifying that what is, terms and definitions. Now it is impossible that any likeness created should represent God in this way, since every likeness created is of a certain kind, but not God, as was shown in the first. It is not possible, therefore, that the divine substance should be understood by any created similitude. Further, the divine substance is his being, as was shown in the first chapter. Now, the very existence of a separate substance is different from its own substance, as was proved in the second place. Therefore, the essence of a separate substance is not a sufficient means by which God can be seen through his essence. However, a separate substance knows through its substance of God that it is, and that is the cause of all, and eminent to all, and removed from all things, not only things that are, but also things that can be conceived by the created mind, to which knowledge of God we can in any way attain, for through effects we know of God that he is, and that he is the cause of others, superior to others, and removed from all. And this is the last and most perfect of our knowledge in this life, as Dionysius says in his book on mystical theology. We are united with God as if unknown, which indeed happens while we know what he is not, but what he really is remains completely unknown. Hence, and to demonstrate the ignorance of this most sublime knowledge, it is said of Moses, Exodus 20:21, that he came to the darkness in which God is. But since the lower nature in its highest reaches only to the lowest of the higher nature, this knowledge itself must be more prominent in separate substances than in us. This is clear from each detail, for the closer and more expressive the effect of a cause is known, the more evident is the cause of its existence. But the separate substances which know God by themselves are nearer effects, and bear a more expressive likeness to God than the effects by which we know God. Therefore, separate substances know more certainly and more clearly than we do that God is. Again, when by means of negations one comes to the proper knowledge of a thing in any way, as was said above, the more and the more close a person knows to be removed from something, the more he approaches the proper knowledge of that thing. Just as the more he approaches the proper knowledge of a man who knows that he is not neither inanimate nor insensible, as he who knows only that he is not inanimate, although neither knows what man is. But separated substances know more things than we do, and which things are nearer to God, and consequently, by their understanding, they remove more things and things nearer to God than we do. Therefore they come closer to a proper knowledge of him than we do, although they themselves, by what they understand themselves, do not see the divine substance. Again, so much does a man know the height of a man, the more he knows that he is superior to the higher. Just as, even if a peasant knows that the king is the highest in the kingdom, because he does not know but some of the lowest offices of the kingdom with which he has something to do, he does not know the king's eminence as someone who knows the dignities of all the princes of the kingdom, to whom he knows that the king is preferred, although neither comprehends the height of royal dignity. but we know nothing but some of the lowest things. Therefore, although we know that God is prominent among all beings, yet we do not know the divine eminence in the same way as separate substances, by which the highest orders of things are known, and they know that God is superior to them all. Further, it is clear that the causality of a cause and its power is so much more known, the more and greater its effects are known. From this it becomes clear that separate substances know the causality of God and His power more than we do, although we know that He is the cause of all beings.